Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. Manchester United have won themselves the EFL Cup, 2-0 victory against Newcastle United in a proper cup final, and one that I think will lead to a lot of hope for Man United fans and a lot of gentle despair for Newcastle over sort of the time capsule of this period and this team. Because I think this team, for Newcastle United fans, is such a lovable team. And I think deep down, I don't think Newcastle United fans would have even reflected on something like this. What makes it heartbreaking that they've not won this one is that the expectations and, getting to these kind of finals, they're not at that stage yet. For where Newcastle you expect to get to, that will be happening every year. And if you don't, then that will be a disappointment. But right now, with the squad and the players that you've still got a lot of players there that were players that I certainly said were championship players. Sean Longstaff, Joe Linton used to struggle, Almiron used to struggle, Fabian Schär struggled, Dan Burn is a player who's come from kind of nowhere, right? And so Maximin was there before all the money. Well, it's real money. I don't know why I've done that. But I can totally get how gutting it is, because I think deep down you want to allow those guys the opportunity to be club legends. And the Champions League places are gently kind of slipping away, and the sort of ruthless nature of football would suggest that a lot of the players that play in this final or members of this squad, let's have a look at it, will not be part of all of the journey. Now, before you get annoyed by United fans and turn off, we'll talk about you guys, because I think there's elements where Newcastle's been really unlucky here, but there's also been certain differences that you only see in a cup final. Because I can look at the stats, and the stats are interesting. I'm not too bothered about the stats in this one, because I think it sometimes comes down to moments, luck, and individuals. And Man United had one individual in particular that we have to talk about, because there's been this discussion about Partey, Rodri, and Casemiro, and which one's the best. We'll talk about that. But back to Newcastle for a second, because, like I say, I think there's a lot of players here that won't be there down the road. All those players that I've said, Joe Linton, how long has he got? Almiron, is he going to be a starter long term? Alison Maximin, we'll talk about his performance actually in a second, but a lot of these guys on the bench as well won't be anywhere near it. And this is kind of almost, it's like, do you know what it's like? It's like year 11, or it's like the last year of, last year of school. And a lot of these guys are going to move on, and they're not going to see each other again. And I think there's an element of sadness of kind of sadness and understanding of what you were and what you're going to become, and all the trappings that come with that. And so to really identify with a group of players, like I think the Newcastle United fans have been able to do so with this group of players, that's what makes it really gutting, I think, for them. And I'll be honest, probably why I was, I'm a sucker for the underdog, because that's the way that's how I take in football, sadly, as a QPR fan. It would have been nice to have seen them got there. But you look at that Man United team, and you can only have real huge plaudits for what's been an absolutely fantastic week for them, and an amazing couple of days where it's been the same players that have sort of changed the game for them. We'll break down that Man United squad in just a second, but let's talk about the goals, because I think that's where it comes. It's tight as well. There's no destiny with these things sometimes. As I say, it could be about individuals, it could be about a couple of moments. I think the one thing that you've got to say, you've got to be a bit disappointed with if you're a Newcastle fan, is there were a lot of moments where, from set pieces, they could have done a little bit more. And if you look at their shot map here, you can see, they get the ball into the box a lot. Why that doesn't turn into a goal? A couple of good saves, but importantly, a lot of blocks and some great defending as well. And incredible interceptions from Casemiro, Varane, Martinez, and the like, right? But when you think of the goals and the difference between the two, there's a moment of quality for that Luke Shaw cross. It's if you watch it back, it's a silly foul. It's a really, really silly foul, but it's one hell of a cross. And it's Casemiro who steps up, and he has done that throughout his career, like scoring big goals in big games. And for a midfielder that does sort of sit there as a single pivot, to offer that output as a goal scorer is pretty impressive. You know, what an effective footballer he is. The second goal, pretty hot off the heels of that, is really bad luck. It is. You know, I think Newcastle were far too open, far more open than they would have liked to have been. I do feel like the occasion got to them a little bit. I think certainly as well, once the game starts to be going against you, I think actually, you know, on the ball they were solid over the bulk of it. And if we have a look at the momentum bar, I think you'll probably see that, yeah, I mean, it was pretty tight. There wasn't a huge amount going on in the first half. But that period there, they was just starting to get themselves going, and then to lose those 2 goals on the break is a bit of a killer for them. But the second one, to have an own goal, again, when we talk about moments, you can talk about the Nick Pope thing, and if Nick Pope's there, does he save it? But if I'm in goal, do we save it because it smacks me in the face? I don't think that's anything you could put on Karius, and I think that is one good thing from it. I think Karius certainly didn't let you down. I mean, let me know if you feel differently about that one. But a deflected shot like that for the second goal is just one of those things. And there were other moments in the game, and 3-0 would have been really, really harsh. But there's a big save from Karius at the end of it. So I think he can start again a little bit. He can be proud of that performance and be a real option for Newcastle or whoever he goes to after this. But it's good that it wasn't about one person's big mistake. But Newcastle were that little bit more open in the first half. But after that, again, there are elements where you can be proud as a Newcastle fan, because I think you can go, look, we had a real go at this lot. And I remember the last time you played Man United and lost 2-0, you didn't really even throw a punch. Like, you didn't get anyone in. I think Shearer might have had a header, but that was about it. You could have got, like, if you'd had that little bit of luck, if it had dropped at the right times for you, and there were several times where the ball dropped in the box, but you know, one person calls it luck, another person calls it really smart anticipation from, a group of players in Man United, where if we now go through them, what's amazing is there was a message sent on my mate's WhatsApp group, and they said they look like winners, Man United. They look like a group of winners. To say that to say that about this group of players, when, yeah, okay, there are some changes in this squad, but there's a lot of players there and the whole idea of Man United was that they're not really bothered, they're not really good enough. And when I look at it, that injection of leadership, and I think tenacious leadership in Martinez and Casemiro in particular, has been an absolute masterstroke. Because, again, they weren't brilliant today. Man United weren't brilliant, but they were winners. Both, you could see it oozing out of them. And whenever those moments came, whenever you needed them, they were there. And what they do is they bring along the other players around them. I think Martinez and the tenacity that he brings, it really does sort of like move around to the rest of the team. And even players like Wout Weghorst, who, the quality's maybe not there, but the pressing, the intensity, the desire, the leadership, the body language is so different. That comes from winning games, sure. And that also comes from Ten Hag having the answers a lot of times, tactically getting it right. That leads to a new level of belief. But the players in that team, Fred was lost last year. But to have Casemiro alongside him, and to have Casemiro to be able to play there, this formation's wrong, to be honest. Because essentially, if we have a look at the average positions, let's do it. It's about Casemiro sitting there as that single pivot, Fred then being able to go where he needs to go to kind of try and put out fires, and Bruno Fernandes a little bit higher up in this one. Wout Weghorst worked his nuts off. Anthony had a couple of moments. I mean, I generally didn't completely smash it. Interesting change in the second half where there was a change in terms of Dalot coming off and Wan-Bissaka coming on. And I was quite interested by Wan-Bissaka's positioning, actually, because they looked to sort of push him up. You can see him a lot more centrally when they were in possession to try and keep Newcastle higher up the pitch. And generally that worked. And when he had to spin and turn, he was able to make those changes. But this man here, Casemiro, I mean, the guy was absolutely everywhere, all the time. It was so good, and it's been such a joy to watch him this year. And when I talk about that, what you do in terms of bringing the other players along with you and helping them and making them look better, by having him as that single pivot, he makes every single other player on that pitch look better. And the amount of times he was over here, you can see that just helping double up, and then Fred will come sort out the rest of it. Anticipating, the stats are actually really annoying on this, because when I looked at them, I know for a fact I saw him time and again. Let me show you it. I saw him time and again winning, making interceptions, heading the ball away, clearing the ball more so than he did here. But the stats here aren't aligned with it. That's rubbish. That's absolute rubbish. And coming back to that idea and that talking point of Rodri, Partey and Casemiro, you can have more talented players. Maybe Rodri's better on the ball. Maybe Partey's better on the ball. Maybe Partey gets around the pitch a bit better. I don't know. But if you're asking me to win a final, a match, a league, a tournament, whatever, and you've got to pick one of those three, it's, for me now, after the last few performances that I've seen from him, he's the one I'd take first. If you've got those three and you've got to pick one of them, and other people are going to get the other guys, I'm taking Casemiro every single time. Just that quiet leadership is just clearly there. And not even quiet at times. There's a moment where he goes and puts out a fire, and that's what he does. He puts out fires everywhere all the time. There's a moment where there's a focus pull of him and Sabitzer, and Sabitzer's playing in front of him, and Sabitzer's thinking, oh, should I come back and help you? And Casemiro goes, nah, you're all right. Don't worry about it. You just stay there. I'll deal with this. And for such an important part of the pitch as centre midfield, to be that player, to be able to go, I'll deal with this at the highest level, and to generally do that is an absolute masterstroke. He's been an absolute bargain. Absolute bargain. We were all wrong. We were all unsure. And I think we had the right to believe that, it could crash and burn. We've seen it previously with other players. But with this guy, wow. He was just absolutely everywhere. I can't say it enough. Defensively, more importantly, because once the game state changes, you're 2-0 up, it's about managing the game. And now, Man United have a team there that can manage the game, especially, and I spoke about it after the Barcelona game, in those three. Varane has gone to another level. Martinez provides, it sets the standards with the tenacity that he brings. Luke Shaw's gone to another level this year as well. Both, in terms of his delivery, attacking output, and defensively as well. And the right back position, they're steady players. But that triangle of those three, the two centre backs and Casemiro, that was ultimately the difference. Because, to a man, Newcastle, I thought Bruno was brilliant. I mean, wow, look at that as a heat map. Just always the guy to give it to. He's a wonderful player that Newcastle need to continue to build around. I thought it was a tough one for Callum Wilson. He never really got that one clear chance from what I can remember. They were a lot more open than I thought they would be. I thought Man United did well in terms of stopping Trippier. And in terms of his set pieces, obviously it's down to the players in the box as well. But none of them really connected. And overall, I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with how the game went. They looked to focus down this right-hand side. Longstaff, Almiron and Trippier. But they never were able to kind of get it done. And partly that was down to Man United working hard and stopping them. But it just never fell. It just never fell for Newcastle in this one. One disappointing player for me, I thought Alan St-Maximin. I thought that, he's exciting. He's always exciting. But the output was poor. The final pass or the simple pass was not taken. He wasn't, I think he was a bit too concerned, obviously, with dribbling and trying to beat the man. But he often, obviously, keep coming inside instead of going to the byline. And actually, deep down, it would have been better going to the byline, especially in the second half. Maybe that was down to, and that was a smart move as well, putting Wan-Bissaka on him in the second half, one-on-one. He then ran into traffic a hell of a lot. Joe Linton huffed and puffed. I thought, I thought his head sort of wobbled a little bit at one point in terms of the frustration that was hitting him. But he was, he pushed and pushed and pushed. And overall, there's a lot more star power in. Well, she's pretty close. And I think that's probably the thing to sort of rely on. And actually applaud Man United for what Ten Hag has been able to get out of this squad of players that on another day, in another sort of type of form, you're looking at them going, that's not a good team. But the tenacity of that spine now makes them different. Martinez, Casemiro, Varane with that bit of class, Fred with that energy, Bruno Fernandes doing what he does, and then Rashford, obviously one of the most informed players in the world right now, and that that pace to go in behind, and Weghorst, even him, doing a job. Everyone's doing a job, and I think that's something that Man United fans can finally be sort of pleased and proud of. And the change is so stark from a year ago to now. Absolutely amazing. Totally, one of those finals where I think, again, Newcastle sort of didn't lay a glove on them, but also had a bloody good go. You could see they were trying to give absolutely everything. I think there's a difference in the benches. If we have a look at the benches, you can see, the ability for, Wan-Bissaka is that clear change, but Sabitzer to come on, Jadon Sancho to come on. I think that's obviously strong. I thought actually the changes, which you thought were a bit like, why are you doing that in terms of Guimaraes and Maximin coming off, for Murphy and Willock, both of them actually did quite well when they came on. It just wasn't their day. And who knows when it will be the next one for Newcastle United fans. And I think that's why they were so desperate for it to happen. And I'm sure you're gutted, but I think you could generally be proud of that group of players in terms of what what you're hoping for from them. You're clearly giving absolutely everything. They just came up against just a really, really impressive Man United team who have got their shit together, haven't they? They really have. Is it? It seems to be. Just won a trophy, haven't they? Congratulations to Man United and Man United fans. Commiserations to Newcastle United fans. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button for me. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it as well. And let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. The Fallout will be out tomorrow. And there'll be loads of stuff coming up soon. So make sure you keep an eye out on the James Lawrence Allcott channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.